My girlfriend was caught in a police raid with her sworn brother in a hotel room. When I went to bail her out, she had red marks all over her neck, comforting the sworn brother who was crying with his face in his hands. Aze forgot his keys, so I got a room to talk about work with him. Don't misunderstand. Normally, I would have questioned her. But this time, I didn't want to see her cold, piercing gaze again. I calmly signed the papers without a word. My friend in the vice squad asked me, "Family member?" I shook my head, "Just a neighbor." Lowering my head, I messaged my mother. "That marriage alliance you mentioned with the Bai family, I agree. Give me 3 days. I'll be home in 3 days." After leaving the police station, Jiang Zhe, looking dazed, got into the passenger seat. I didn't bother saying anything and was about to start the car, but he grabbed me. He turned to Yin Minghan. "Sister Ming, I'm a little scared of riding in cars driven by other people." Jiang Zhe's eyes were watery, his brows furrowed, looking like he was still in shock. I shook off his hand. "If you don't want to ride, then get out." The atmosphere in the car instantly froze. Jiang Zhe's expression became even more aggrieved. From the back seat, Yin Minghan's voice was icy. "Yin Chuan, can't you be less selfish and cold-blooded? You know Aze has trauma from his sister's car accident. Can't you be more considerate? All right, get out of the car, I'll drive." Then, Yin Minghan got out of the car and slammed my door open. The cold wind rushed into the car, giving me a chill. I didn't move, just looked at her silently. "Get out!" Yin Minghan, who had always been reserved in front of me, suddenly became violent. She forcibly unbuckled my seatbelt, trying to drag me out of the car. She wasn't as strong as me, so logically, she shouldn't have been able to pull me out. But I couldn't bear to hurt her. I was pulled out, staggered a few steps, and almost fell. Yin Minghan got into the driver's seat, not even looking at me, only touching Jiang Zhe's face. "Don't be afraid. I'll take you home first. Sister Ming, you're so good to me." Jiang Zhe looked at me intentionally or unintentionally. Finally, Yin Minghan left me with just one sentence. "You're a grown man. Get yourself home. I'll drop Aze off first. I'll be home soon." They drove off, leaving me behind. I saw Jiang Zhe reach out and grab the back of Yin Minghan's head, pulling her into a kiss. My phone vibrated, and my stiff fingers tapped to answer. "Ah Chuan, have you seen Bai Shue's photo?" Bai Shue was my arranged marriage partner. She was a petite, elegant, and graceful girl. On the other end of the phone, my mother's voice was relieved. "Ah Chuan, you've really grown up? Your father is old, and he's gotten angry several times over the years because you ran away from home. It's good that you can come back. When you have a child with the Bai family's daughter, it will be perfect." I looked up at the small flying insects under the street lamp. My memories jumbled. I ran away from home years ago precisely because I didn't want to accept this fate. I met Yin Minghan, and I felt incredibly lucky. In 7 years of dating, I witnessed her growth. I proposed several times, but she always put me off with "it's too early." I knew something was wrong long ago, but I was deceiving myself. At that time, I was really like a naive boy, thinking she was as devoted as I was. But now, I was wrong, terribly wrong. In the end, I took a taxi home by myself. Regardless of my attitude, Yin Minghan felt somewhat guilty. So, not long after, she also came back. She happened to see me throwing things away. All the models I originally cherished were taken out and tossed carelessly into a bag. "Didn't you love these little toys the most? Why are you throwing them away?" Yin Minghan looked incredulous. "Decluttering," I said casually, just hoping she would go take a shower quickly. Jiang Zhe doesn't wear perfume, but I always felt like Yin Minghan carried a scent. It made me want to vomit. She was silent for a moment, not sensing anything amiss. She said to herself, "It's fine to throw them away. We can buy new ones when they come out. Or, we can put them in our wedding house. What do you think?" Yin Minghan's charming voice reached me. It seemed like she was really envisioning our future. She was secretly watching my reaction. I knew it, but I pretended not to. Normally, I would have rushed over to hug and kiss her. But now, whenever I had the thought of kissing her, I would think of her flirting with Jiang Zhe, as if I were a scavenger. My indifference made Yin Minghan lose interest. She was perceptive and knew I was angry, but because I was always the first to apologize and make up, she was used to it, so she didn't bother to comfort me. Tonight was already a rare concession. Yin Minghan went to take a shower, and her phone kept ringing. I was so annoyed that I picked it up and glanced at it. Jiang Zhe had sent her several double wedding photos. In the photos, Yin Minghan looked exceptionally slender and beautiful in the wedding dress. Her gaze towards Jiang Zhe was full of tenderness. My heart ached dully, and I was also absolutely furious. So Yin Minghan's impatience was only directed at me. There was a time when I really wanted to see Yin Minghan in a wedding dress. I spent money to order several sets, just waiting for her to try them on. I imagined her wearing a wedding dress. But she always stood me up. They're all the same. You know I'm lazy. What's the point of trying them on? I still remember Yin Minghan's frowning face. Before, I thought Yin Minghan was different from other women, disliking trying on clothes, trusting my taste. But now it seems the tenderness in dozens of photos wasn't fake, completely devoid of impatience. What are you doing? Suddenly, a wave of heat hit me. Yin Minghan forcefully snatched the phone away. With great strength, I was pushed aside. Don't you know this is private? Yin Minghan's face was flushed red from the heat, but her tone was chillingly cold. I silently looked at the long scratch on my palm from her long nails. It was already starting to bleed. Actually, even if Yin Minghan hadn't come just now, I wouldn't have scrolled up any further. I had already seen the thousands of flirty text messages going back and forth. From midnight to dawn, I wanted to wake up the woman sleeping next to me, but I gave up several times, Who would have thought? 7 years of love. Our chat box was always me making a fuss alone. Occasionally, when Yin Minghan was in the mood, she would reply with an emoji. Before, I thought this was her personality, very cute. But now, thinking about it, I was like a clown, a dispensable simp. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have looked at your private stuff. I apologize sincerely. Yin Minghan was stunned. Yin Minghan seemed unprepared for my reaction. About the photos, it's because Azay said these outfits look good on me, so I just tried them on. Don't get me wrong, and haven't you always wanted me to try on wedding dresses? Besides, Azay's sister passed away, and he said he wanted to see what his sister looked like in a wedding dress. Yin Minghan pouted, leaned in to hug me, and brought her face close. You're not angry, are you? I'm sorry. I listened silently to her clumsy excuses. Jiang Zhe's sister, Jiang Ro, was Yin Minghan's friend. At that time, Yin Minghan was at a critical stage of her startup and encountered difficulties. Jiang Ro was delivering a USB drive to her when she got into a traffic accident. She died shortly after being taken to the hospital. Before she died, she asked Yin Minghan to take care of her younger brother, Jiang Zhe. Yin Minghan kept her promise and took good care of Jiang Zhe. Initially, she was distant and restrained, but later she liked to get involved in even the smallest details of his life. I sighed softly, thinking that I would be leaving in a few days. It was better to be direct and not waste time. There's no outcome for us. Actually, if you could marry Jiang Zhe, that would be good. Before I could finish, Yin Minghan looked up and a slap landed on my cheek with a crisp sound. What's wrong with you? Azay only sees me as a sister. Do you think he's as casual as you? My cheek burned with a hot sensation. That's right, Jiang Zhe wasn't as casual as me. I tolerated everything Yin Minghan did and didn't hold grudges. My eyes became hot, and my fists clenched. I saw Yin Minghan's slightly panicked expression. Her voice softened. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I suddenly wanted to muster the courage to tell her everything. Minghan, actually, in a few days I'm going to get. Yin Minghan's cell phone ringing interrupted me. Yin Minghan answered the phone. The voice on the other end echoed in the cold, silent bedroom. Sister Ming, I had a nightmare. I dreamt that my sister was in a car accident. I woke up and suddenly missed you so much. Can you come see me? Okay, I'll come over now. Yin Minghan was very anxious. She hastily put on some clothes and was about to leave. Before leaving, she seemed to suddenly remember something. What were you going to say just now? But I had already composed myself. It's nothing. Let's talk about it when you get back. Waking up the next day, there was no sign that anyone had slept on the other side of the bed. With only a few days left before I left, I simply quit my job. Last night, I packed up a lot of things, most of which were to be donated. When I took them out to the courier, I found the apartment across the hall was very lively. Workers were going in and out, carrying brand new furniture. Even though there were many people, I still saw Yin Minghan at a glance. She was leaning in Jiang Zhe's arms, directing the workers on where to place the furniture. Yin Minghan, this person, paid great attention to these details. Back when she and I first moved in, she was like this, taking time off work specifically to supervise people. She said that if a home wasn't properly arranged, it was just a rental. But now, my home rarely has her presence. Sir, your mailing code is... The courier woke me up. The people inside obviously heard it too. As soon as the courier left, Jiang Zhe came over with a smile. Brother Chuan, Sister Ming said, I often have nightmares, so she bought this. We'll be neighbors from now on. Jiang Zhe came closer, patted me on the shoulder, looking very enthusiastic and cheerful. He made me get cheated on, so there's no way I could have a good impression of him. I didn't want to deal with him and was about to go back inside. But Jiang Zhe, as if possessed, punched himself in the face and fell backward. He bumped into the worker carrying a cabinet. His lower back hit the corner of the cabinet. Ah! Jiang Zhe screamed in pain. Yin Minghan heard the sound and ran out. She helped Jiang Zhe up, the heartache in her eyes almost overflowing. She gently blew on the wound on his face. Yin Minghan looked at me with a look of disbelief. Yun Chuan, are you a violent maniac, hitting people at every turn? Jiang Zhe's face turned pale. Sister Ming, don't scold Brother Chuan. It's me. I shouldn't have moved in here to disturb you. Brother Chuan is just because he cares about you. I'm just a burden. How could you be a burden? You're my brother. My temples throbbed. Their deep affection as siblings, no matter how many times I saw it, only made me feel annoyed and disgusted. My door was blocked by a hand. Yun Chuan apologized to Aze. I couldn't hold it in anymore. He hit himself, and I have to apologize? Yin Minghan retorted. Aze wouldn't lie to me. Are you a grown man, afraid to admit what you did? I sneered repeatedly. She always only believed what she wanted to believe. Jiang Zhe pretended to mediate on the side. Don't argue because of me. I'm sorry. I hit myself? Yin Minghan held Jiang Zhe's hand, but glared at me. I never realized you were this kind of person before. You, this kind of man, really disgusts me. Her eyes were like knives, slicing my heart and making it bleed. In the end, I didn't apologize, nor could I apologize. Jiang Zhe kept complaining about his back pain, so Yin Minghan had to help him downstairs. Watching their backs, I suddenly remembered that I also needed to go to the hospital. My sleep wasn't good. I don't know when it started, but I often stayed up all night. I tried countless folk remedies before finally thinking of seeking help from a doctor. The hospital wasn't crowded today, and I got my medicine quickly. Going downstairs, I unexpectedly saw Yin Minghan and the others. It wasn't really surprising, actually, as this was the closest hospital to home. Yin Minghan's alluring figure was pressed close to Jiang Zhe, and she was also carrying medicine in one hand. It drew envious glances from many men. What are you looking at? A pregnant woman, eyes red with envy. Pinch your own man. Jiang Zhe seemed embarrassed, but Yin Minghan was completely unfazed. We met at the elevator entrance. I didn't say anything, but Jiang Zhe started to distance himself from Yin Minghan. His face was a little red. Chuan Gu will be jealous if he sees. Yin Minghan frowned. You're injured. How can you walk without support? Then she asked me abruptly, why are you here too? Are you sick? I showed her the medicine. Just insomnia. Yin Minghan thought for a moment. Then I'll have my assistant buy some lavender to take back. Put some in your bedroom. She seemed about to say something else, but was interrupted by Jiang Zhe. Jiang Zhe started complaining about the pain again, looking even more miserable than the person who had been stabbed in the back. The elevator was going down continuously, when suddenly, with a bang, it stopped abruptly. The lights went out. Ah! Yin Minghan cried out. She was afraid of the dark and claustrophobic. My heart tightened, and I instinctively called out to her. Minghan, are you okay? She trembled and hummed in response. In the darkness, there was the rustling sound of clothes. Sister Ming, hold me tight. Don't be afraid. Aze. In the elevator, a man's gentle voice comforted her. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. Once before, Yin Minghan and I had an accident in an elevator. The lights suddenly went out, and the elevator got stuck on a certain floor. She also trembled uncontrollably and sweated. Yin Minghan rarely lost her composure in public, but that time she buried herself in my arms and wouldn't let go, like a clingy kitten. But now she doesn't need me anymore and trusts Jiang Zhe unconditionally. I was still fantasizing about her softness in my arms. But Yin Minghan broke it herself. Aze, I'm not afraid of the dark when you're here. After an unknown amount of time, the lights came back on. The elevator descended normally. As soon as I reached the first floor, I staggered up and rushed out. I drove straight home. I wasn't even in the mood to choose the wedding venue that my mother had sent me. I just sat quietly and watched the clock tick. I don't know how long it was before Yin Minghan returned. She brought back a bouquet of lavender and something to eat. I opened it, and it was a bowl of shrimp wontons. Yin Minghan forgot that I was allergic to shrimp. She apologized on her own. Look how much I care about you. I still remember you haven't eaten. Eat it while it's hot. I opened the lid and ate all the shrimp wontons. My skin broke out in a rash. Oh, why are you allergic? Yin Minghan covered her mouth. But I didn't care. It's your birthday tomorrow. Come back and celebrate together. Yin Minghan was taken aback, but quickly nodded. I got up and went to find allergy medicine. I, a man, have never intentionally learned, so I'm not good at cooking. Only longevity noodles are made decently. But for some reason today, I failed several bowls. I didn't want to waste them, so I could only eat them silently. Calculating the time, after Yin Minghan comes back to celebrate her birthday, I should leave. But I didn't wait for her. She called me. That idiot A's burned his fingers while cooking. I have to take him to the hospital first. You eat first. Yin Minghan's lies are always so clumsy. My main WeChat account can't see her updates. But my secondary account showed a new post. The picture showed two people standing in front of a cake. Colorful ribbons floated, capturing the moment when the two were smiling and holding hands. Hello, hello? Yin Minghan hadn't hung up yet. I took a long breath. It's okay, no rush. I like her post with my secondary account. I dumped the longevity noodles into the trash can. Yin Minghan no longer loves me. If I let go, she should be very happy. I dragged my suitcase and left the house. On the way, I organized the ambiguous and private photos of Zhangze and Yin Minghan over the years, and posted them on my WeChat moments. There were plenty of their mutual friends there. I'm leaving, and I won't let them have it easy either. Before the plane took off, I sent Yin Minghan a message. Happy birthday, goodbye forever. I didn't say break up, because in our 7 years of relationship, she never told anyone that I was her boyfriend. Then I deserved to be cheated on. I was blind to be hung up on her. A second before shutting down, countless calls bombarded me. I accidentally answered one. Yin Chuan, what did you post on your moments? Delete it immediately. Where are you going? Come back quickly and apologize to A's. I forced the phone to shut down. It's ridiculous to say, she never replies to my messages. I used to think she was too busy. Now I know that she sees everything. She just doesn't want to reply about me. It was my mom, whom I hadn't seen in years, who came to pick me up. She was wearing a red dress and looked radiant. But I still felt she had aged a bit. Mom hugged me and said I'd suffered. Although I'd run away from home many years ago, I hadn't really lost touch with my mom. So she knew about my entanglement with Yin Minghan. She even saw it incredibly clearly, asserting that I and she had no future. I didn't believe it before, but now I do. Along the way, Mom told me about the changes at home. I actually knew all of them, but I still listened carefully. As soon as I turned on my phone, it started ringing like crazy. I didn't answer any of them, just put it on silent. To Mom's questioning face, I said, spam calls. Mom seemed to understand something, but she didn't say it explicitly. Because the wedding date was approaching, my schedule was a bit rushed. I went with my mom to contact the venue and find Bai Shui to take wedding photos. I looked at myself in the mirror and felt very unfamiliar. Mom's eyes reddened, and she wiped the corners of her eyes. Chuan, Xiao Xue is 10,000 times better than that Yin Minghan. I nodded, not caring. I've met worse people. There's nothing I can't endure. Unexpectedly, Bai Shui also arrived on time. The person in the photo suddenly appeared in reality, and I felt a little dazed. Hello there, Bai Shui said, pretty and lively, looking me up and down with a smile on his lips. This instantly made his cold temperament become gentle. Thank you. I lowered my head to adjust my clothes, a little embarrassed. My mom quickly came out to smooth things over. Xiao Xue is here. Why don't we take a photo together as a memento? Bai Shui asked for my opinion, and I nodded. My mom happily took a photo of us. She likes to use Weibo very much, so she posted the photo. My son is the most handsome, /image/. I never expected that my mom's Weibo post about her daily life would go somewhat viral. A few hashtags trended along with it. Hashtag by family daughter wedding, hashtag by Chuan wedding photo, hashtag my mom was very pleased with this, and even sent me screenshots of some of the well-wishing comments. Let that Yin Minghan see if she's good enough for you. Actually, I didn't care anymore. She never loved me. So how could she hurt me? But unexpectedly, she actually messaged me. I had already blocked her on my main account, but she found my alt account. She sent a photo of Bai Shui and me. Then she called me on voice chat. The wind howled on the other end of the line. You packed up and went home because of that woman? Just because her family is rich? Yin Chuan, I didn't expect you to be such a man who despises the poor and loves the rich. I know you're jealous. If you come back now, I'll marry you right away. I looked up at the moon outside the window. Silvery white, it looked cold. Yes, it's because she's rich, beautiful, and knows how to act cute 100 times better than you. No man wants to be cheated on. Yin Minghan's breathing was heavy, as if she was suppressing the beast inside her. Her tone was harsh. She probably doesn't know, right? You and I slept together, and I was even pregnant with your child. These rich young ladies all love cleanliness. How could anyone want a rotten cucumber like you? Yin Chuan, I won't allow you to break up with me. My chest ached, and my eyes were hot. The first time she was pregnant, I planned to get the marriage certificate with her. But she was unwilling, insisting that I was discriminating against women and treating her as a reproductive tool. I had no choice but to agree to her having an abortion. And Yin Minghan never showed mercy when poking at my wounds. For a long time, I couldn't say a word. Yin Minghan seemed to sense something. Her tone softened. Chuan, we've been together for so many years. Can you just say you don't love me anymore? She seemed to want to say something more, but a male voice sounded on the other end of the phone. Sister Ming, this lace underwear will definitely look good on you. Come in and try it on. I couldn't help but laugh and hung up the phone. Then I completely deleted the alt account. Still angry, I slapped myself. I approached Yin Minghan because of a promise. But if I could do it all over again, I definitely wouldn't have agreed. Yin Minghan's mother was my neighbor back then. I had just escaped and was still adjusting to life outside. Yin Minghan's mother was very kind to me and sometimes taught me life lessons. It was because of her that I met Yin Minghan. At that time, Yin Minghan was 18. She was particularly rebellious and didn't like to study. My relationship with her wasn't very close, until her mother became seriously ill. Yin Minghan's mother knew her time was short. On her deathbed, she asked me to look in on her daughter when I had time. I agreed. I entered her life and touched the rebellious girl. Then, I was deeply entangled for 9 years. I think I've more than completed my mission. Chuan, what are you thinking about? You should go out. My mother gently patted my shoulder. Because of my return and the marriage alliance with the Bai family, my father threw a banquet. The dazzling crystal chandelier made it hard for me to see the expressions of the people below. Glasses clinked, and camera flashes were constant. I don't really like being photographed, so I turned to avoid it, but Bai Shui stepped in front of me first. But she was a bit shorter than me, so she couldn't block me completely. So, to outsiders, it looked like she was clinging to me. Bai Shui smiled at me. She seemed like a nice person. If I had met her at the beginning, perhaps things would have been different. There were too many strangers, so I didn't dare to drink much at the banquet. I could only pretend to be drunk and sneak outside to get some fresh air. The thin clouds in the night sky had dispersed, revealing a cold moon and a few stars. By the moonlight, I saw someone approaching me. It was Yin Minghan. She seemed to have lost some weight. Jiang Zhe, dressed in a suit, walked beside her. Come back with me, Yin Minghan said in an imperious tone. She was always so bossy. I didn't want to say much and turned to leave. Yin Minghan grabbed my wrist. Her nails dug in, making me frown in pain. Let go. I've already apologized to you. What more do you want? Yin Minghan's eyes were red. I wanted to laugh, but even lifting the corner of my mouth felt exhausting. Jiang Zhe's youthful voice came. I'm sorry, Brother Chuan. It was my fault you two argued. Please forgive Sister Ming. She really loves you. Jiang Zhe's words sounded extremely sincere. The faint sounds of laughter from inside the house could be heard outside in the courtyard. It was completely different from the cold silence here. Minghan, we can't go back. What are you talking about? We've known each other for 9 years. What do you think those 9 years were? Don't you just want to have me? I can marry you too. I can have your children too. I found it ironic. When you said pregnancy restricted your freedom, went for an abortion, and went on a hot spring trip abroad with Jiang Zhe, did you ever think of me? Yin Minghan choked. Jiang Zhe was about to speak, but I punched him. A man acting so coy. I'm disgusted for you. Immediately, Jiang Zhe's face turned pale, and he looked aggrieved. Yin Minghan subconsciously loosened her grip on me. It's not like that, he's just my younger brother. Her voice gradually faded. I didn't want to look at her anymore. In the distance, Bai Shui called me. I put on a smile and walked towards her. Bai Shui said, "Do you know her? Do you know her too?" "No. I only know that she's the child that old Master Yin recognized a few days ago. The wedding is only a few days away, and I still have some things to buy." Bai Shui is actually very busy, but she insisted on accompanying me. I'm not familiar with her, so I can't order her around, and I had to agree. Passing by a custom jewelry store, the salesperson enthusiastically pulled me inside. She was so enthusiastic that I couldn't bear to refuse. The store's decor was warm and romantic. I looked at the rings in the glass display cases, until I stopped at one of them. I stopped Bai Shui from buying it. Suddenly losing interest, I turned to leave. A familiar voice came from behind. "A Chuan." Many shop assistants were cheering. I turned around and looked coldly at Yin Minghan, who had picked up the ring. She looked a little flustered and awkward. "This ring, do you remember it?" How could I not remember it? I had known her for 3 years, and in the first year we were together, I designed a ring. It was decorated with sapphires and engraved with letters on the inner circle. It wasn't complicated, but it made me a layman stay up all night. But at that time, due to various accidents, it wasn't made. Yin Minghan approached step by step, about to take my hand. The cheers from the people beside us grew louder. Except for Bai Shui and me, everyone was shouting, "Get together." I just felt noisy and slapped her hand away. The ring was knocked away by me and fell right into the trash can. The surrounding sounds were instantly silenced. "Miss Yin, please behave yourself." Yin Minghan trembled all over. "A Chuan, don't you just want to put a ring on me? We can get married now, and we will be together forever." "It's too late, it's too late. If it had been a little earlier, before I found out they slept together, before I found out that she secretly had an abortion for Jiang Zhe, I would have personally put this sapphire ring on her." Yin Minghan seemed to wake up from a dream. "Do you think it's too simple?" "It doesn't matter. I'll have someone redesign it. You can have as many as you want." I know you're jealous of Jiang Zhe. Don't worry, Minghan, we won't have a future." I interrupted her. I took Bai Shui's hand, and she actively cooperated with me. Yin Minghan wanted to stop us, but couldn't. Behind me, there was a lot of noise. She was rummaging through the trash, like a madwoman. I never expected that Jiang Zhe would try to force his way into my house. He was stopped by the servants. Jiang Zhe's handsome face was a little haggard, and this time it wasn't an act. "Yun Chuan, please don't let Sister Meng chase me away." I stared at my phone. I had 10 minutes before I had to leave for my appointment. She has nothing to do with me now. As soon as I finished speaking, I seemed to have touched one of Jiang Zhe's sore spots. He suddenly began to struggle violently, his eyes fierce. "You dog, it's because of you that Sister Meng doesn't want me anymore. She loves me. It's me. Why are you trying to steal her from me? My sister is dead. I have nothing left. Can't you just let me have this?" Jiang Zhe looked manic, crying and then laughing. "Your sister deserved to die." Jiang Zhe was stunned, and then, as if he had thought of something, he started to tremble. "Your sister stole the USB drive I was going to give Yin Minghan, and got into a car accident on the way. And you? You knew all this, but you enjoyed Yin Minghan's guilt. Jiang Zhe, you've been smug for so many years, it's time to give it back." The man in front of me shook his head, unwilling to accept it. No. What you said, is it true?" A woman's voice came, and Jiang Zhe trembled like a sieve. I didn't want to watch their confrontation any longer, because it was time. Bai Shui's car was parked at the door. I quickly opened the car door. Yin Minghan tried to pull me, but Jiang Zhe held her. "Get lost." Jiang Zhe was kicked hard. I thought of that night at the police station gate. The car window closed, blocking out the noise. Bai Shui asked me, "Are you okay?" I smiled nonchalantly. In my peripheral vision, Yin Minghan's hand slapped the car window, making a thumping sound. She was shouting something, but I couldn't hear it. The soundproofing is really good. The car started, and I leaned against the window. In the rearview mirror, Yin Minghan was chasing after us desperately. But she was a girl, after all, and her stamina quickly gave out. Gradually, I couldn't see her figure anymore. I closed my eyes. The night before the wedding, I was about to go to sleep. My aunt suddenly knocked on my door. "Young master, it seems there's someone outside." My aunt told me there was a woman outside looking for me. But my mother had told everyone else to pretend they didn't see her. My aunt felt sorry for the woman and couldn't help but tell me. The door closed again, and I went to the window. Coincidentally, my position gave me a perfect view of downstairs. Yin Minghan was leaning against a car, thinly dressed, shivering from the cold. As if by some strange impulse, she looked up and met my eyes. Her empty eyes suddenly lit up. I closed the curtains. I told the butler to chase her away. There was a commotion downstairs, and Yin Minghan shouted my name. The struggle continued for more than 10 minutes, until a loud clap of thunder sounded. "Forget it. Leave her alone." I called the butler back. The butler was sweating, his clothes wrinkled. "Young master, she insisted on seeing you. Ignore her. She'll leave." Later it started to rain. Yin Minghan wasn't stupid. She had just been chased away like a dog by the butler. She considered herself above others. I figured she was probably long gone. But in the middle of the night, I was awakened by the sound of thunder and rain. Under the street lamp outside the window, in the pouring rain, Yin Minghan was still there. She was still stubbornly looking in the direction of my bedroom, but she was already swaying on her feet. But belated affection is cheaper than grass. I went back to sleep and had a dreamless night. The next morning, there was no trace of her downstairs. The makeup artist praised my good looks and finished in a few strokes. But I wasn't very happy. I put on my suit and went to pick up Bai Shui. I lifted her into the car, her slender waist easily grasped in one hand. Arriving at the wedding venue, there were flowers and applause. The weather was very good today, exceptionally bright. Under the gratified gaze of my parents, I held up Bai Shui's hand, the ring infinitely close to her ring finger. "Wait!" All sounds stopped, and people looked behind them. Yin Minghan was wearing a wedding dress, a brand new one. But she looked too haggard, without makeup, dark circles under her eyes, and her cheeks were sunken. She walked closer step by step, and then was stopped by the bodyguards. The head of the Yin family was also present today. Seeing Yin Minghan, the head of the Yin family was so angry that his face turned green. "Achuan, I'm here for our appointment. Will you still marry me?" There was an uproar. I forced a smile and turned to urge Bai Shui, who was in a daze. "Be serious." I put the diamond ring on her ring finger. Yin Minghan stood there stunned, swaying. The hand holding the ring was trembling. I approached her step by step. A look of surprise appeared on Yin Minghan's face. But the bloodshot in her eyes made her look terrifying. I picked up her ring and threw it hard onto the lawn. I don't want other people's things. Suddenly, Yin Minghan's eyes flashed, and she surprisingly revealed a dagger. The people in the front row saw it and started to stir. Yin Minghan moved quickly, but her target was not me. The scene was chaotic as she rushed towards Bai Shui. I wanted to stop her, but it was too late. "Look out!" Someone tried to pull her back, but they were too slow. However, the knife that was originally aimed at Bai Shui was turned by Yin Minghan and stabbed into herself. There was blood on the ground, but it wasn't Bai Shui's. The dagger was stuck in Yin Minghan's abdomen. His hands were covered in bright red, and he said to me in a wrong tone, "Achuan, I'm in so much pain." In a daze, I remembered a few years ago when she insisted on cooking and ended up cutting her finger. At that time, she also looked at me with this wronged expression. She had hurt herself on purpose, wanting me to feel sorry for her. But I would never hold her hand and bandage it for her again. I walked quickly to Bai Shui and checked her injuries. Fortunately, Bai Shui only had some scratches on her arm. In the crowd, someone called an ambulance, and some people surrounded Yin Minghan. Her gaze was burning, but I never looked back. Yin Minghan was taken away. The chaotic wedding barely maintained order until the end. After that, I didn't see her for a long time. I heard that she was locked up by the head of the Yin family. I also heard that she tried to commit suicide several times and was rescued. Later, it was said that the head of the Yin family found Jiangze, trying to get him to cheer Yin Minghan up. But it was useless. Jiangze was stabbed more than a dozen times by Yin Minghan and was already dying when he was found. It was said that he was crippled. I stopped deliberately inquiring and just lived my own life. It was another birthday, and Bai Shui wanted to throw a big party for me, but I stopped her. In the end, she just made an ugly cake herself. I fell in love with recording my life, taking random photos, and posting them on social media. Yin Minghan liked my post. After that, I only learned about Yin Minghan from the news, her thunderous methods, her not needing a man, taking over the Yin family in just 1 year, or her romantic affairs, finding several men who had undergone extensive plastic surgery. Those faces, more or less, resembled one person. Until one time, I went to a restaurant and bumped into Yin Minghan being intimate with a man. She quickly saw me and pushed the handsome man away. Yin Minghan stammered, seeming to want to explain. She pinched the corner of her clothes, releasing it several times. By the time she came to her senses, I had already brushed past her. Later, I heard that Yin Minghan had driven away all the men around her. Even her assistant was replaced with a woman. She also fell in love with Charity and adopted a son, naming him Yin Yinjuan. Yin Minghan poured money into cultivating Yin Yinjuan. Outsiders speculated that he was actually Yin Minghan's biological son. Why else would she be so good to him? Years later, Yin Minghan became seriously ill. At that time, most of the power in the Yin family was in Yin Yinjuan's hands. Yin Minghan publicly announced her will, leaving half of her property to Yin Yinjuan after her death and donating the other half. The last day of her life happened to be her birthday. Mother said she hoped you could spend her last birthday with her. Yin Yinjuan came to find me personally. This boy had been raised very well, showing no signs of the inferiority complex of an adopted child. Over the years, I had long since let go, but I didn't want to see her one last time. I wanted to take one last revenge on Yin Minghan. Not long after Yin Yinjuan left, that night, Yin Minghan passed away. That evening, I, who had been dreamless for many nights, unusually entered a dream. I saw Yin Minghan lying on a hospital bed. One hand was exposed, covered in 4 drips. Pale and thin, it lay limply on the edge of the bed. White coats rushed in and covered her with a white sheet. Yin Minghan was truly dead. I woke up early. On this spring day, it was a rare sunny day.